I kind of broke down the whole story, how I started betting on sports when I was a kid. I grew up in a hot dog cart at the age of 8. My dad had me selling hot dogs and ham sausages in the streets of Philly. And to me, I didn't go to school. I dropped out of school in 9th grade. But to me, the street was the biggest education of my life. And, got involved when I was 18 with a good friend of mine, Rooster, and we started moving games for some really sharp sports bettors out in Vegas. And next thing you know, I'm in an office with a bunch of guys like Jimmy the Sheep Batista, Rooster, a bunch of other names. And we start moving big money back then. And the whole time I was also messing around in the street trying to earn. I was in the weed market. Back then it was taboo. Now it's fashionable. Now everybody wants to open up a dispensary. Now it's all, it's cool to, be in the weed market. But I was in it when it was taboo. I was in the sports betting market when it was taboo. So I was kind of ahead of my time. And the whole time when I was moving money for those guys and those guys in Vegas, I knew that if I couldn't find more bookmakers to bet with, well, then this job I had an expiration date. We were called movers. So as they kept sending us, the information on these games that had a positive EV edge against the sports book, these guys were basically booking the bookmaker. I started trying to reverse engineer, why are these betting these baseball games? Is it the weather? What factors is the park factors in baseball? Is it the home run favorability index? Is it pitching matchups? Is it the mounds? Is it, I just tried to break down everything on why these guys are betting these games. And slowly but surely, I started to reverse engineer moves that they were giving us. And every night, every day, I'd go and I'd try to, come up with my own games. And then the next day that we were getting ready to fire for these guys, if they matched up, every day I was getting close. More of my games were matching up with their games. And I was starting to realize the key factors on why they're betting these games. So we did that for a long time. And then back in I was in that office from 88 till 94.
So how were they getting you the game? It was this this
what
phone
was the
call?
system?
Yeah.
Well, back then we had a big office across the street from the Lamb Tavern.
Okay.
Up there.
In Delco.
And there was about 40 of us in there. That was the main office. First we had our own office. We had smaller offices at my house in Upper Darby on Kent Road. I had 10 phone lines. It was me, it was the cat, it was Elliot, King was there, Buck, Johnny Corrales was in there. We were all working together, and we were just trying to find as many outs as possible. And we had about 10 phone lines, and we all were sitting next to the phone, and we would get the phone call, and they would say, Eagles -6, open order. So we would just bet it with every bookmaker we had, Eagles -6, and then we would call back when we were done betting it, and we would let them know we got 20, 30, 40, 50,000 on the game. And then from there, it was starting to get a little hot because you got to remember, before a couple hours before the games go off, you see all these nice cars getting pulled up to Darby. You see BMWs, Corvettes, Mercedes. And then after the games start, we would leave and go get something to eat. And then you see the same thing happen again before the night games. So after a while, I was feeling like it was getting hot. So then we moved to Elliot's apartment on City Line Avenue. Moved out of there. We worked out of there for a while. And then we went to the big office. And that big office had about, 40, maybe 50 guys in there. I mean, you had Rocco, you had Rooster, you had so many different characters. And there was a bat phone. And when that phone rang, you knew the games were coming in. And Sheep would pick up the phone and just scream out, move, Cowboys -2. And all race, we had our stat papers, stat sheets. We had 2 phone lines, and we just started calling book. Crazy. And then we would turn in our tickets. And then that's basically how that, it was kind of like a stock room. I mean, we were just trying to beat the market before it moved, before the line moved, and get down as much as possible as we could on these games. And then we would turn in the tickets, and that's basically how.
So these guys from Vegas were calling not only you, but probably other offices similar.
Whoever had an outfit.
Yeah,
we were one of the bigger ones.
Yeah.
We really, we beat up bookmakers. Back then I was booking as well. I had a big book. I had close to 1,500 people bet with me. So we were on both sides of the business back then. And what would happen is we would beat bookmakers so bad. And back then, you got to remember, these bookmakers were honorable. Today, these guys don't even pay. Like, everyone thinks they're a bookie. They get a paperhead service online, and they try and get customers. And then if you beat them, they don't pay you. Back then, it was honorable. There were other people, you know, in the shadows that, you know, made sure that everything was run the right way when it comes to the bookmaking side. That's basically how it worked. I mean, we were just firing away, and we would bet into these books, and eventually we would beat them so bad that we would take over their books, sports books, and we would make them a 50-50 partner because they would scream no mas. Like, they just, you know, because back then you got to remember, people didn't think anyone can beat sports book or the bookie. And we were the guys doing it, and we had a big outfit, and we had networks all around the country. I mean, I had accounts in New York, Pennsylvania, Jersey, Delaware, North Carolina. Like, we were going up and down the East Coast back then, trying to find as many bookmakers as possible. And being, you know, my nationality is Greek, you know, I called in all the Greeks, all their cousins, all their grandmas up and down the East Coast. And we were just trying to find as many bookmakers as possible because we knew we had an edge.
Yeah.
And when you have an edge, you try to exploit that edge. You try to monetize as much as possible. We were just trying to get down with as many people as we could back then. That's basically how it worked.